Hello again, you lovely bunch of people. Go Lions! Because this is that West Ham channel and say, Go Lions! How we all doing? Send you good health and happiness. So this is the second intro video to part 2 of you lucky people binge watching my prison episode. So this should be introducing episodes 7 to 12. I hope you enjoyed the first 6 episodes. There's some funny stories in there and they're all true because, and you can see who was the butt of the joke. And yeah, thank you for the people that sent nice comments to say it's nice to see someone not pretending they was tough in there and just, you know, being honest. Why not? Because it's more funny, actually, when I look back on it and see how I handled myself and see how I made a right plonk of myself at times. It is actually quite funny in hindsight. So please enjoy. Oh, itchy snozz every time. Please enjoy these next 6 episodes. Then we've got, once you've caught up, for those that have been waiting and been saying, when are they coming back? They're coming back soon, as soon as we've got these launched. And shout out to Nick, shout out to Sam and Louis, who are my companions on this wonderful journey that we've embarked on together. Not just on that West Ham channel, but also, check the link in description, My Safe Space, which is a platform we've launched to help people help themselves, providing a safe space for people to be able to just be themselves, not be a mum, not be a dad, not be a brother, sister, a worker, a this, that, and all the different roles that you play that causes so much noise. Actually giving people a safe space to just let go of all that and turn up and just be yourself around people that will listen to you, like genuinely really will listen to you and will make you feel acknowledged because you'll choose to feel acknowledged in that environment. See what I did there? So enjoy these episodes. Please like and subscribe to what West Ham channel? That West Ham channel. Please do, because we're young and we're in our infancy and we're trying to grow and get big boys. So yeah, give us a shout, sign up to it, please, and share it about. Our content's getting better and better and better. I think it's the dog's danglies, but you know, I'm a bit biased. Other than that, have a fantastic day. Enjoy what happens next, wherever it happens next. Have a good one. I left off, I'd introduced you to Debo, Scott Lewis, Lennox Lewis's brother. What a funny geezer. The last episode was when I spoke about the fire, when the guy set fire to his cell with him and another cell, obviously his cellmate in it. Horrific incident. I spoke about running on the yard. That's where we left off. We left off with when Barry, my lovely Barry from Brixton, English yardie fella, English ruster fella, got taken out of my cell, and the prison officers had come into my cell to tell me to make sure I didn't let anyone know that I was Martin Mannion, my dad's son, because my dad was a prison officer in Pentonville. Thank God not anymore at that point. And Barry had been replaced by a fella called Chopper, who was a young yardie fella, and he was from Kingston, and he was a rough little geezer. As I said in the previous video, visually, like, he had marks all over him, chivs all over him, like he'd been through it, sort of thing. And it was actually Chopper that, in the short time that I was with him, because not long after Chopper, like Barry got taken out of my cell, Chopper came into my cell. Not long after that, I got my move to a C category prison. At that point, I was on D wing in Pentonville, which was like an A wing, A category wing, because you had everything on there. Like I said, nonces, rapists, murderers, lifers, everything was on that D wing. And because it was my first time going to prison, regardless that my crimes were violent, I very quickly got a C category prison. But there was a short, I think it ended up being, because I was only meant to be with Chopper for about 4 days, but the move to Wayland, and this quite often happens in prisons, because of the amount of trouble, prison moves sometimes get delayed. So it got delayed for a couple of weeks. But at this point, if you've watched the previous episodes, I'd kind of settled into life in Pentonville on D-Wing, thankfully, because of a guy that was in my school that was on there that spotted me on the first day I did canteen, and from that point I was sort of safe. I had people that sort of said, no, he's all right, took care of me, which was handy. And what Chopper did, in the short time that I knew him, he showed me how to do prison cell workouts, and that was an experience. So, and that was funny, that's when I got to see his back, because obviously he showed me how to do workouts in the bottom bunk. You can use it with the metal frames to do pull-ups and stuff, which at that point I was bang on the pull-ups, because if you saw my gym induction story, you'll know what happened to me the first time I tried to do a pull-up. So I was doing pull-ups with him and like press-ups in the cell, and he showed me like a routine, a really good routine. And I remember the first time he took his top off, like he was fucking hell, talk about covered in scars and stab marks. He's like, yeah man, this one here, we got shot. I was like, really? This one we got stabbed, this one we got stabbed, it just missed me out. I was like, the guy was covered. He was a little bit older than me. I was 21, he would have been 23, 24. This geezer's story about how he grew up in Kingston in Jamaica, honestly, it was fascinating. And he also introduced me to an artist called Cableton, which I really got into, which is a ragga artist. And anyway, another thing Chopper had showed me was it Chopper? Yeah, no, Barry had I just remembered. Barry had tried to show me this, but he didn't do it properly. Chopper showed me this, which was how to take, out of a normal plug wire, a normal USB wire. Do you know, obviously, if you cut it open, you've got the little tubes inside, the red one, blue one, black one, like within the outer casing. And in those, you've got them obviously fine wire that's wrapped together. So obviously, to do what I'm about to say discreetly, you have to use one of these wires. So this wire is thinner than a guitar string, an electric thinnest, which is the E string, thinner than that. It's like, point is, you can't see it. And he showed me how to hook it up to the light to then power up your radio. He also showed me, which when I came out of prison, I showed my mates and my brothers, which was amazing, how to make a mobile phone charger out of 3, not AA, the ones up from AA, the slightly fatter ones, not the massive ones, the ones just slightly fatter than the AA, probably about as fat as 2 fingers. 3 batteries, a bit of paper, a bit of sellotape, and two of those wires, how you can charge your phone, which again, I was like, this is the stuff that I really started getting fascinated when I was in prison, just how much you can create a world within a world to get on and to survive. And yeah, my time with Chopper was interesting, because with Barry, it was a very placid experience. He was a very calm guy. He was very much a father and just wanted to get out, but just one of these people that the way life had took him, he'd been in and out of prison a few times, dealing drugs basically, but not an aggressive guy, anything like that. Chopper was aggressive. He was literally a wild card. He really was. And thankfully, he liked me. Oh, another thing he showed me was his range of prison chivs, which again, I was like, okay, that's great. Don't use them on me, mate. So yeah, that was an experience being banged up with Chopper for those couple of weeks, because it gave me a real insight into Kingston, Jamaica, how he'd been raised, how he'd got here. He brought drugs across. He was muling, so he was bringing, swallowing ridiculous amounts of drugs, and he got caught basically coming over and got grassed up. As he said, that's always the way with mules. You tend to get grassed up because there'll be someone taking more stuff. And it was a real education in Jamaica, in prison violence, in regards to what he showed me, like I said, with the chivs. And it was such a big contrast from being banged up with Barry, where I basically felt at ease. With Chopper, I just couldn't ever feel at ease with the fella, because 3 o'clock in the morning, I'd be woke up, he'd have the radio on, and he'd be doing fucking press-ups all of a sudden. It was mental, absolutely mental. However, it was part of the experience, like I said. So after being with Chopper for a couple of weeks, I got the knock to say, right, you're moving on. Oh, one more thing about Chopper. He was the first person, Jamaican, because I met quite a few Jamaicans that were involved in the servery, which is the kitchen, to show me how to season prison chicken, because prison chicken is jank. But thankfully, some of his mates, the Jamaican lads, which often end up getting jobs in the servery, in the kitchen, they get like spices over to the inmates. Now they can't always, sometimes they'll actually spice it up and have a different tray within the trolley. And I learnt this actually because later on when I went to, or not the next prison, not Wayland, not Hollesley Bay, High Point. When I went to High Point, I got to work on the servery and I got to experience this firsthand, how it worked. Sometimes you can sneak the good chicken in with the shit chicken, should we say, the unseasoned chicken, and like it'll be passed out to the relevant person, but sometimes you can't. And so what happens is the people in the kitchen manage to get nice seasoning and pass it on to some of the prisoners, the other prisoners, so that they can season up their own chicken. And I remember the first time he actually seasoned up a bit of jerk chicken in the cell, and I was just like, this is fucking amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Like, and it tasted, considering, don't get me wrong, it weren't, no, where I grew up, there was some, in Forest Gate, there was some lovely yard places where they'd done beautiful yard food. Weren't as good as that. However, it had flavour, it had taste. It was just amazing to see how that worked. But anyway, not long after being with Chopper for a couple of weeks, got the knock, Mannion, you're moving. Where am I going, Gov? You're going to Wayland, which is in Thetford. Some of you might know that area. It's where there's one of the centre parks is really close to it. Again, quite ironic. Well, I'll get to the prison journey in a minute. Sorry, the prison van journey in a minute. Because obviously from Pentonville to Thetford, I should have checked that before, but it's well over an hour. Like it's a good drive. So I remember like getting taken out of my cell, saying bye to Chopper. Like, and it's funny because this time, it's really funny. You do something once. I'd done the first prison van journey, which was from Snaresbrook Crown Court to Pentonville. So that there wasn't the novelty with a bit of fear involved. I remember I said like looking out the window and just looking at people and thinking, they're looking at me thinking, there's bad people in there. Parents warning their kids and all sorts. To this time really looking forward to getting on the bus, to getting on the van, because it was going out into the world again. And I remember, so you go down, like you pack up your stuff. You got your see-through bag. I remember I left Chopper some cigarettes. Me and him got on really well in the end. I left him some cigarettes. I still had the bulk of my cigarettes because I hadn't at that stage got the confidence to start going around bartering with fags still for phone cards and all the rest of it. But anyway, yeah, so I packed up all my stuff. Got taken down to like the holding bay bit where you're waiting, and seeing there's a few other lads that are on that was on my wing, D wing, and there's other lads from other wings that you're all waiting there. And it's funny because I was excited just to be getting on the bus, but the air of, what a contrast. It's only just thinking back about this, the contrast. So do you remember when I said when we first got taken from Snaresbrook to Pentonville, for me personally, I was on a right downer because I'd just been given a 5-year prison sentence. The people around me had just been banged up, as we've just got their sentences. So we're all going to prison. So the atmosphere is very solemn, very down, very heavy, definitely not excited. However, in this holding bay going from Pentonville to Wayland, you would have thought we was going to fucking Centre Parks because everyone's like, yeah, have you heard about Wayland, bruv? I'm like, no, I don't know nothing about it. Massive football pitches. It's got about 8 football pitches, 2 rugby pitches, and my ears are pricking up at this point. I'm thinking, really? A prison? Like, bear in mind, so far my experience has been Pentonville. Most of my time in Pentonville, which was, how long was I in Pentonville in the end? It was a couple of months. Maybe like 6 weeks to 8 weeks. It wasn't long. So it was a couple of months, and so I've nutshelled the story of Pentonville. There's other bits, but I've given you the main bits. But that was my experience. Shitty gym, like barely getting out for so. Sometimes we were banged up for 23 hours. You went out, you got your food, you went back to your cell because there was so many fights, so much trouble in Pentonville, especially on D wing. Like I said, huge wing. So to be sitting there, I found myself getting quite excited with these lads talking about football. Yeah, I've heard, and another lad, yeah, I've been there, I was there before, blah, blah, blah. The food's better. And I'm just thinking, fucking hell, this sounds really good. I'm onto something here. So the atmosphere getting on to that prison van was really fucking different and in contrast from the first one. So I remember getting onto the van, like leaving Pentonville, driving out, we're on our merry way. Again, I'm looking at the windows, the window, my little prison window, and like I said, going through the obviously it's North London way, going through London, you get out onto the motorway, looking at the countryside, and I remember then, what's that smell? And this is how naive I was. I'm thinking, the fucking drivers, he's smoking a spliff. No, what was really happening was these lads that was like on the van with me, because you get checked before you go into the van, but it's not like a thorough search. And they'd managed to bring on obviously a lighter and spliffs. So I was thinking, fucking no, this is meant, because obviously after a little while I clocked, no, it's not the driver. What a dick I was, so green. That's these lads. I'm thinking, fucking hell. And it smelled like good quality skunk. You know, that potent, common skunk smell. And I'm thinking, this is mental. We're on a fucking prison van and people were smoking weed, which funny enough, a couple of moves later, which we'll get to, I was one of those lads. It's funny how your confidence builds. But I'm just thinking, I'm on my way to Wayland, this new hotel prison that everyone's been talking about, and people are smoking weed. And I'm thinking, this is a bit of all right. Again, it's really strange how you draw a bit of normality from very abnormal circumstances, but familiarity, like the smell of weed. Like, was just like, oh, and people were again laughing in the van, and you know, there's people cussing each other. There's obviously some of the lads that know each other. I'm getting to know a few of them. I'm getting a bit more confident at this point to speak when people, you know, oh, man, what's your name? I'm Mannion, blah blah blah, Mano. Blah, blah, having a chat, where you from, who do you support, West Ham, you can't, blah, 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 fuck off, blah, blah, blah. And I remember just on that journey thinking, thank God Pentonville's behind me, and whatever is coming next with Wayland, it definitely sounds a lot nicer than what it was in Pentonville. So we get up to Wayland, and I don't know how far away we was, but then I noticed the driver pulls over, and it's quite funny actually. The driver pulls over and he comes into the back and he goes, "You lot are a bunch of cunts in ya. We're gonna have to sit in there for 10 or 15 minutes." And he opens the back door. Obviously he doesn't open our doors. He opens the back door and the side door to air out the smell of cannabis. So bless the drivers, they must have just been used to it, because they carried on driving the whole fucking way. They didn't say anything. They aired out the van before we went into to Wayland, which in essence, he didn't have to do that, but he chose to air out so that you know, to prevent trouble. I suppose it probably saved him time as well, because it would have to have been paperwork, people would have been searched. So he aired out the van, and I remember pulling into Wayland and I saw like just green fields. I was thinking, fucking hell. And then you saw the fences, obviously, but then you could see different blocks. And then I remember seeing a block which was sort of caged off itself, which had like flowers, like you know, gardens, and we'll get to that in a moment, whatever. But I remember making a mental note initially thinking, oh, that looks like a nice block. I hope I get on that block. Little did I fucking know what that block was. But anyway, so arrive at Wayland, and just everything about it was different. So do you remember when I got into, because obviously with A and B category prisons, like your Brixtons, like your Wandsworth, like your Pentonvilles, like a lot of the London ones, the A, it's a very volatile arena, because they're the ones that often you're coming out of court going to those prisons. So no, everyone's angry, everyone within London's beefing, especially Brixton and Peckham at that point. Whereas when we got into Wayland, like, they let us out, and just the whole place, it was quiet. That was one thing. I was thinking, God, it's fucking quiet around here, isn't it? Really quiet. And you get let in, and then you start meeting prisoners that are, what are they called again? Is it orderlies? I forgot what they're fucking called. Is it I think they're called orderlies. I can't believe but they're like trusted prisoners. And they sort of meet you, and you go into, like, get your site. You obviously ain't got to do my number and all that anymore. I've got my number now, JM6012. Remember, I thought JM was just a coincidence. When I went to prison, oh, look, it's JM. No. Anyway, yeah, we went in, you get your kit and everything else. And I just remember really feeling quite at ease straight away, which was such a contrast going into Pentonville. And I got taken to my first cell in Wayland, which had 2 lads in it already. So it was a 3-man bang up. And that's when I really started learning how to be comfortable in prison and really how prison runs, because it is a society within a society. So thank you if you got to this far with it. I'll carry on the next episode in regards to what happened at Wayland. Have a great day, send you all good health and happiness, and speak soon. So where did we end up? On the last episode, we ended up where I got on the prison bus from Pentonville and experienced for the first time people smoking what smelt like the sweetest, strongest skunk in the prison van on the way to Wayland. And I arrived in Wayland to this, it felt like this wonderful experience, this new lovely Her Majesty's Pleasure hotel that we'd arrived in, and got checked in, got taken to my first cell. I can't remember what wing it was. C wing. I do remember what wing it was. In Wayland, my first cell, the first block I got put on was C wing, and it was in a cell with 2 other lads, Stouty and Garvey. If you two ever get to see this, shout out to you two, because you two fucking welcomed me with open arms. So I got taken into this cell, and there was, again, I felt a little bit of jitters, because you're thinking, all right, where am I going into? And then you open the door, and you got 2 lads sitting on one of the lower bunks. It actually still took 4 people, but it was only 2 of them in there, and I was going to be the 3rd and no one else. And I got in, and they just went, all right, mate. And I went, all right, lads. And they both from Roman Road, funnily enough. And obviously I grew up in Forest Gate, and my stomping ground for a while was Roman Road and Mile End. So straight away there was just a bit of commonality. We had something that we shared in common. Neither of the fuckers supported West Ham, though. Although Stouty, shout out to you, bruv. That little wooden box you made me in carpentry with West Ham that you engraved into it, my little brother Dan, I gave that to this day. What a wonderful geezer. But anyway, so got taken into Wayland, which, like I said, is a C category prison. So massive differences. You always get let out of your cell for like social and yard. Don't get me wrong, there's still fights every now and again, but it's nothing like the energy in Pentonville. Like I said, it's volatile. It literally is. Every time the cell doors open, you think, what's going to happen now? Whereas in Wayland, every time the cell doors opened, the atmosphere was actually quite nice. This is where I realised, this is when I started getting to, like I said, maybe at the end of the last video, and I'll just say it again if it wasn't in this video, this is where I started learning about how prison life works, because you have to get on. At this stage, I've only been in prison now for less than 2 months. I've got 3 years. Now, if I'm lucky, I could get out, on me jam, on my parole in 2.5, but I'm right at the beginning. So my head is now settled into, I'm going to be here for a while. I need to adapt. I really need to adapt to this. And Stouty and Garvey, they were brilliant, because bless them, both of them were smackheads on the quiet, but they were functioning smackheads. They weren't rob you blind to get a fix smackheads. They weren't stick you up with a needle fucking smackheads. They were just 2 young lads that had been sort of institutionalised. Both of them had been away a few times. They'd gone through young offenders. They were both just a little bit older than me, because at this stage I'm still 21. And I think Stat was like 23, 24. Garvey was older, but he looked fucking younger. Bless him, he had most of his teeth missing. But he was about 30, but he looked about 24, other than when he opened his mouth and smiled. Fuck me, you can see the wear and tear of the drugs. But yeah, they were just really good lads. They were just down to earth, just normal lads that, you know, they chose to be criminals. They could have gone to university or college and gone down that route and got jobs. They was like, no, you know, they just chose a life of crime. And again, very much drug related, what they was in for. So they're introducing me to their mates on the wing, and this is where I start realising, like I said, there is, you know, there's because I was out of my cell so much more. What did I get a job as? What did I get a job as initially? No, I'd done a course. I did a computer course. Initially, there wasn't any jobs. There wasn't a job in chippy, carpentry, but there was computer courses. That's what I did. I remember I did my first computer course, really basic computer course. So you're out. You sort of build a routine. You know, you get up, you got breakfast, obviously. Then you go out to work. You leave the block that you're on, unless you're a cleaner. Obviously, then you stay within the block that you're on. Cleaner's a good job because you get let out early in the mornings as well. And the thing is with the cleaners, they often get perks from the dealers because they're out of their cells before anyone else, and then they get put away after everyone else of an evening. So they're the guys that do a lot of the running around in regards to passing on messages and all the rest of it and blah, blah, blah. So getting a cleaner's job on the wing is actually a good job. You just don't get to leave the wing other than going to the gym and going out for social, which is out in the yard sort of thing. So I'm just trying to think I remember the first day that I went out onto Wayland's prison yard, right? Fucking massive. And so I'm with Stouty and I'm with Garvey, and then we meet up with a couple of their mates, and this is when, like I said, I realised there's a societal class within prison. At this stage, I'm still in the shitty gear. Like, my t-shirts are too big for me. Stouty and Garvey, they couldn't give a monkeys. Their prison shit is all over the place as well, not matching. But then I realised get out into this yard. There's certain prisoners that are walking around, like their stuff looks like tracksuits, like quite well-fitted tracksuits, and you can see that they're up. This is the societal prison class in comparison to where you are, whether it be because they're dealers, whether it be because they're part of a gang, whatever it is, you can notice that there's a difference. Like their clobber, it looks all right, it looks fresh. It's like, oh, I want these tracksuits. It fits him. Fuck, you know, he don't look like he's wearing some old fat geezer's tracksuit with shit hanging off him, you know, everything. And that's when I started sort of asking lots of questions, because I was comfortable with them too. I asked lots of questions about, how does this work? And I remember as we're walking around Wayland, and if anyone's watching this who's been to Wayland, you'll know as you go around the yard, and at this stage, by the way, the new wing hadn't been built, because there's a new wing got finished whilst I was on here, which I got over to, funny enough. But as you're walking around the yard, I got to walk near the fence of the. Do you remember when I said when we arrived? I noticed one of the wings. I saw that had like it was a prison within a prison, if you like. It had fences around it, and it had like flower patches, and it actually had a little golfing bit, like a really little golfing bit in this particular wing. So as we're walking around, I was saying to Stouty and Garvey as we're walking around, and they must have known, because I was new. So I've gone, you see that wing? How do we get over there? And they've just fucking rolled up laughing. They've gone, do you know how you get over there? You either rape someone or you're being nonce. I was like, oh! And they was like, that's the nonce wing. I mean, you're fucking joking. He said, no, that's the nonce wing. And over there, I said, but look, how comes it's so nice? He said, yeah, it's interesting, that, isn't it? He said, look, and it was them that told me that over the back bit, they've got their little golfing bit as well. Now, in the nonce wing, they get different service, considering what they do as well. And it's a better service, by the way, are better. So like I said, they get to go out flowering, doing flowers in their gardens and stuff, growing little bits and pieces in the gardens. When you've got all these prisoners that are in the main wing on their yard, yeah, all the other wings are on one yard. There's no, you know, there's no flowers, there's no little golfing bit. They're all walking around looking at these fuckers that basically are rapists and nonces that are getting all this extra treatment. And it turns out that's because this is where the judges and the police officers and people of higher society that get done for that sort of shit, they get put into these wings. Now, I learned as I went through, because after Wayland, I'm sort of going 2 steps ahead now, but to give this credence, after Wayland, I got my DCAT, which was Hollesley Bay. And after Hollesley, I got kicked out of Hollesley Bay and I went to High Point. I learned that every single prison has a nonce wing, and every single nonce wing is always much better equipped than any other part of the prison, which you've got to ask yourself, people, why is that? That's a bit strange now, considering these are people that do awful things to kids, which I can relate to because of something that happened to me as a kid, or to women, or to other men, you know, rape. But yet, when they're away, they get much better. They get better food. They get better like times out that they're amount of time that they're out their cells. They get better facilities. Really strange that. And whilst we're walking around, you have people on my side of the fence, so the non-nonce side of the fence, that are basically just waiting to try, because all the nonces, you can see them, but they stay far away. When I was there, they stayed far away from the fence, like they kept well over. But you had, you know, you still had, every now and again you'd hear someone go, you fucking nonce, you dirty, and all the rest of it, and having a go at people over there. But also, on the nonce wing is where they put the grasses, because of course you can't be a fucking grass in prison. You can't. If you snitch in prison, like, you are fucked. So they always put people that snitch will ask, like, put me on the nonce wing, because they'll know what's coming to them otherwise. So it's a really strange boiling pot in the nonce wing of nonces and grasses. Basically, that was when I was away. That was my experience, and it wasn't just in Pentonville. That was in every prison after Hollesley Bay and High Point I went to. It was the same thing, same setup. But yeah, so in Wayland, so anyways, let's fast forward it a bit. In Wayland, I actually ended up getting a job on the servery. So that's the first time. And again, the thing is, what went in my favour, being a first timer and not being a dick. I wasn't a dick. I realised, like I said, if you've seen the first episode of this, I realised very quickly, I had this little inner voice of, Jay, just be yourself. Don't try and be anything you're not. And I did. Throughout prison, I was myself. I got more confident in being myself, but I didn't ever try and be anything I wasn't. I didn't try and go on tough. None of that. I just was me, which actually served me quite well in the long run. And even when I came out of prison with the friends that I made. So anyway, yeah, I got a job on the servery. It was the first time I got introduced to the servery, which is amazing, because all of a sudden you get access to the better food. And again, in Wayland, there was loads of yardies on the servery and in the kitchen. And it's quite funny because the yardies used to cook for the screws as well, because obviously the screws enjoyed their food as well. So we'd often get really nice grub coming through, and I'd take bits back for Garvey and for Statty as well, and also that's when I got introduced to the obviously the gym. Now you go through an induction again, which again, different experience that time from the first time I did a gym induction in Pentonville. This time I was, I was confident. I went over there. They didn't do the whole pull people, but when I walked in, I just thought, wow, what a gym. Then they took you, so that was like the weights area. Then there was an area like they had running machines and stuff. Then there was an area where there was a gym hall, which was volleyball. They had badminton, a basketball. Like, I was just like, fucking hell, this is brilliant. And then there was people that was working, gym orderlies, that were working in the gym orderlies, best job in the prison. Get a job in the gym orderly, best job in the prison. And I remember meeting a couple of the orderlies, and I was talking, got on with a couple of them, and they said, how are you at football? I was like, I'm all right at football. And they went, well, if you're good at football, you could end up, if you're one of the best, you'll end up getting a job in the gym. I was like, shut up, really? It's like, yeah. So I remember they did the tryouts for the Wayland football team. So I put my name down, and at that point it was run by an Irish screw called Taffy, who was funny as fuck. The way he used to speak to us prisoners, like he called us cunts and everything, like he didn't give a monkeys. Like it was really funny. And he had a lot of respect. Everyone sort of respected Taffy. And I remember the first time, right, that I went out to try out for the football team. Now, I was so excited. If you've seen the previous, any of the previous episodes, there was one of them when I talk about the first time I went for a run and I was a bit timid and shy. But then once I had that feeling come the end of that exercise yard of running that whole time, and after that, every time they opened the door, I was out running. And already at this stage, being in Pentonville for 6 weeks to 2 months, running whenever I was allowed out, doing that hour run, literally as soon as I was out, I was running. So I was running for the best part of an hour. So I was feeling quite fit. I'd been playing football consistently prior to going into Pentonville anyway. So when they done the tryouts for the football, it was just like any other time I've done a tryout for football in my life. Like I was nervous but excited, like that, looking forward, nervous, knowing that, Jay, you can play football. Like, you're going to get in this team. I wasn't cocking it. It was just, I just knew, like, I'd played at quite a decent level prior to going to prison. Like, I had played at academy level with players that went on to make it as professionals. Some of them even played for West Ham. So I knew that you're going to be in the mix there or thereabouts. So I was really excited at this point. And then I remember as we was all walking over, so the people that got picked, there must have been about 30 of us, a good mix of different, different people from different backgrounds, but everyone's super excited about playing football. Like, this was the opportunity, like they needed, because of course, if you got into the football team, you got to go training. So not only did you go your gym sessions, you got extra sessions for training, and then you got matches. And I'd already been told, if you get into the team at Wayland, you get to play Norwich schoolboys, you get to play the army. That was funny. You get to play the RAF, like you get to play the police. Like, teams come in regularly, so you're playing regular, sometimes both days on the weekend, sometimes including in the week. I was like, oh my God, like I need to get into this team. So we're all lining up. I'm full of excited, nervous energy. At this point, I'm not thinking about being in prison. I'm thinking that I'm on a football tryout and I'm fucking ready. I'm focused. That was until one big fuck off fella, big black fella, out of nowhere. Like, and me and him got on. So this is, at this stage, I've now been in Wayland before the football tryout a good 2 to 3 weeks. I've settled in, I'm making friends, like people were getting to know me. I got to work on the servery, like I said. So that when you're on the servery, everyone's like, yeah, nice me up, bruv. And then, and I would, as much as possible, try and get, not out of fear. At this stage, I'm quite comfortable now. No one was coming through saying, give me that, bruv. Like, they was cooking, do me a bit. And so people knew, yeah, he's all right. I didn't pick, some people would pick and choose who they gave it to. I'd just try and do me best for everyone. And me and this fella, we got along, and he was a big, fuck off, massive lump. And there was another fella there, Stevie Taylor, who played for Tilbury, good footballer as well. But obviously at this stage, I didn't know that. I just knew he was Steve Taylor. He was known in the prison because he'd been there a while, and he was known that he was good at football, because when we was going for the tryout, the current team for Wayland were there with us. Like, we was playing. In fact, the trialist played against the people that were already playing for the team, basically. And this lump, for whatever reason, had heard about Taylor being a bit of a hatchet man, and I just remember him. And the thing is, Taylor he weren't a mug, like he was a Tilbury boy, and I just remember out of nowhere that the big lump fella just went, oh yeah, I've heard about you, bruv. You touched me on that pitch, or don't you? Whatever, he threatened him. And it just in an instant, it reminded me, oh, fuck, like where I was and what I was going into. And so Taylor's not back down, but you can see he didn't really want it with him, but he's not back down as such. He's just sort of said, oh, brother, this is football, we're talking about, blah. And I remember it changed my energy, because up until that point, it was just pure excitement, looking forward. Let me just check the time. Got to be careful, my little girl. Yeah, we're good. Pure excitement about going to play football, and then all of a sudden there was this nerves of, oh, well, Jay, you get stuck in. Like, you definitely get stuck in. I played centre defence and centre midfield both times, both positions. I was always known, like, I never bottled a challenge in my life. Like, and when I was dirty, I was just at times, I used to love playing football so much. I used to love going in for headers. I'd put my head in front of a boot. I'd slide tackle both legs. I was comfortable. So I knew that was a big part of my game. I knew that was a part of my game that had always sort of helped me progress. And all of a sudden I'm thinking, what if I clatter someone and they beat me up? And I just remember, as that was happening, Taffy's come out, right, you can't, and then opening the gate. And I remember stepping forward. We was given boots, so we had some, everyone, I mean, those shitty old boots, but we had our boots on. We were stepping out onto that grass for the first time, getting ready to go and try out for the prison team. So where did we leave off? The football prison tryout. Really funny, actually, because as I've been recounting these stories, and so much has come back. I haven't spoken about these stories for a long time, and it is amazing when you start to sit with something and really think about it, just how much comes back. So where I left off was, if you remember, I'd said about having me boots, like at the prison game, some old crap. I mean, they stunk as well. I mean, these boots reeked. You know, when you got trainers, I don't know if you've ever wore trainers with no socks for too long, and they literally smell like arsehole. I don't care how pretty you think your feet are, you wear trainers for too long and you exercise and you run in or whatever with no socks, you're getting a big smell of fat. So I could smell the stench of the boots. I was thinking about this actually since I made the last video. And I also remembered the fact that we'd been given some sort of training top stroke football shirts, and what a feeling it was to put on a football shirt at that point, considering obviously I'd been in prison at that stage for about 3 months, I want to say. At least 3 months. So to put on, like, to be in a changing room, because obviously the prison gym area, you've got changing rooms as well. To be in a room where you're changing with other blokes into your football kit, it was such a lovely feeling. It was such a reminder, and you know, it was a double-edged sword, because I'm there looking around thinking, yeah, this is just like normal life, and then remembering this isn't normal life, because after the game I'm not going down the pub for a pint and some roast potatoes and little sausages on the bar. Ooh, do you remember that? Going down the local pub that you played for, and they put on the sausage rolls and, oh, stop it, it's making me hungry. And yeah, but putting on the kit, and I just remember, like, and again the kit stunk, but it was a football kit, and I was like, yes, this is proper. And obviously we made our way down to the where the big fences were with the gates that led out onto the fields. And Wayland is massive, so I was in Wayland prison at this point, in Thetford, which is massive. It had rugby pitches, it had football pitches, huge. There was other teams used to use the ground to train. Like I said, we actually played at Norwich schoolboys and stuff. Like I said, it was a good pitch. Oh, I've got a toll bridge coming up, so I'm going to pause this. Yeah, so Wayland's massive, loads of football pitches used by the army. Used to get the RAF over there as well sometimes. We used to play them as well. I'll get onto some of the games. But anyway, so this tryout, right? If you remember, if you've seen the last episode, at this stage, walking to the gate, I'm buzzing. I'm buzzing with that same nerves of any tryouts I've ever done, whether it be for, you know, as a little boy trying to get in the local church team, Or some of the academies I went to, Charlton, Leighton Orient, Wimbledon. You know, you got that nervous energy. Yeah, just buzzing. And got to the gate, and as I said in the last episode, I got a quick reminder of where I was, because some bloke said to another bloke, like, if you touch me on that pitch, I've heard about you, like, I've heard you clatter people, blah, 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 blah. And it brought things back down to earth for me very quickly, because I knew part of my game, in fact, the biggest part of my game was that I always had an engine. I could run for fun, and I I think when it came to football, from a kid, as soon as that ball, you know, it kicked off, that was it. I was in. Like, I was, for the 90 minutes of that match, I was all in, and I trained hard enough to be able to go for 90 minutes and be battling for 90 minutes. So my point of saying all that is, when I heard this geezer, who I got on with, this geezer, but sort of threatening this other geezer, I was like, oh no, Jay, don't clatter no one, Jay, you're going to get beat up, don't do it, Jay, don't lose your head. And anyway, so I went from really nervous and excited to really nervous, oh shit, how's this going to pan out? So as I said on the last video, you had the trialists, and then you had the current Wayland football team. That obviously prisoners as well. And the way Taffy was the screw. Taffy actually knocked me out. That's a funny story. Accidentally in training. That's the first time I've been knocked out. You know, like gone, wake up thinking, what the fuck happened? But anyway, like Taffy's opened the gate. We've all jogged out onto the field. Like started doing the warm up. Like you know, getting people just having a run around, and then it was pretty much right, trialists. It was like, what position do you play? Blah blah blah. I said, oh, I'm centre mid, and off we went with the game. And it's funny because I remember as soon as he blew that whistle, all that fear of don't hit no one or don't clatter no one, it went out the window. As soon as I got that ball touched to me for the first time and just knocked off a pass, that was it. I was into the game. And it was a really competitive match, because obviously there's loads of ego in prison, and the trialists are obviously wanting to prove a point to the team. The first team players, they don't want to lose their place, because Taffy had said, you know, some of you are going to, Taffy was ruthless. I wish I could do a Welsh accent, he was brilliant. But he was like, some of you fuckers, you know, to the first team, you're going to be losing your place today. So he really fucking revved it up as well, the dog. And anyway, so we got into the game, and like, it's competitive. There's some good players on my team. There was a mustard play. I was playing against a little fella from Newcastle. Of course, his name was Geordie. Everyone called him Geordie. Who was on the books for Newcastle. Best mates with Shole and Miobi, used to show me his letters from him and all the rest of it. Good player, mustard. I was playing in the centre against him. I went on going 2 steps ahead. I got picked, ruining a bit of the story, but I got picked, and me and him ended up playing centre mid together. And here's a funny story, a little caveat to this. I was going to say he was the best player I've ever played with in centre midfield, other than, and this is a true story as well, if I'm lying, I'm dying. Prior to going to prison for what I did, if you've seen some of the other episodes of this, you'll know that I went on a run. I went on a run to Ireland, and I fucking hell, Jay, honestly, where I stayed was a place in Cork called Knocknaheeny. Now Knocknaheeny was, I'm used to council estates growing up, being, I've been even travelling around London, being on other council estates, South London. I ain't seen anything like Knocknaheeny. Nothing. This place was, it was chaos. There would be fires in the streets. Like, they still have the old horse and cart people racing. They have a lot of travellers. This is how fucked up it was, Knocknaheeny. This is a true story. So the council built new houses in Knocknaheeny to try and stop the travellers from putting putting their caravans in like the fields and stuff, and in the football fields. Do you know what the travellers did? They put their caravan, not all of them, but some of them, they put their caravans on the driveways of the new houses and let their horses roam through these new houses that the council had built just to take the piss. So this place was rough as you like. However, just down the road, you had a football team called Temple. True story. Temple was where Roy Keane had he played as a youth in that area, because his family are from that area, the Keanes. And when I was at Temple, I actually played centre midfield. It was like a semi-pro level centre midfield with Pat Keane, Roy Keane's brother, who was the spitting image of Roy Keane. Like, it was mental, absolutely mental. Spitting image of Roy Keane, and a good fucking player. And I played centre midfield with him, funny enough. So anyway, back to the prison story. We're playing against the prison first team, and it's a competitive game. Like, I put a few challenges in, nothing to write home about at this point. But then playing at the back for the prison team, the A team, they had this lump. It was I think he was from Essex. But he was a lump. And he was he was one of the gym orderlies, right? And I can't remember what happened, but like he was at least twice the size of me, easily. Remember, I was 20. Well, I'm still 21. I'm still 21. Yeah, I'm still 21 at that point, definitely. 21, beanpole, big head, wearing a football shirt. Like, I just looked like a lamppost, basically. And it's a 50-50. And I never forget. Like, I didn't see who it was at the time, but as soon as I went in, crunch, like it was a clean challenge, fucking crunch, flipped him. You know when you hit someone so clean that you take the ball, but then sort of ball and your leg hits their leg, so the momentum flips him, like he just flipped, and the whole pitch sort of went, oh, and I went from like what a challenge to, oh, Jay, what you done? And I've just got up and carried on with the game, but it's still going in my head, and I've already gone, oi! And like I'm still playing, he's gone, oi! And I've gone, yeah? He's gone, what are you fucking doing? And I've gone, it's football, mate! He went, I ain't your fucking mate! I went, alright, mate! He went, I'm not your fucking mate! I swear to God, I went, alright, sorry! Carried on playing. One of the others, thankfully, one of them, because it was a funny moment. The way he went down, and you know what? I've done this twice. You wait till you hear the Olizzy Bay story. The way he went down, like I said, clean as you like, and of course Taffy, the dog, is winding him up, like he's giving it, he's pissed him. Like I said, what didn't help, obviously this geezer's ego, was the oh, and then the reaction, then my reaction, and everyone just laughing. Then I'm thinking, oh, shit, like I've got to go back into the showers, into the changing rooms. There's not going to be any screws there. Is he going to beat me up? Anyway, we carried on the game. I didn't let it affect my game too much. Like, we carried on the game. Come the end of the game, we all shook hands. Thank fuck. I just like went up to him and I mean, oh, sorry mate, and he just like, in fairness to him, like his ego had, thank God, dissipated at that point, and he just went, oh, it's alright mate. He said it was a good challenge. Anyway, and I got picked for, and I remember that feeling when we went back in. Taffy pulled me out and he went, oh, you're a good player, Manny, aren't you? I said, oh, thanks Gov. He went, yeah, you'll be picked. He said, you'll be playing centre midfield. It's funny how you remember this stuff. He said, you'll be playing centre midfield with Geordie. I went, oh, nice.
I went back to my wing buzzing. Starty and Garvey, obviously neither of them played football, bless them, but they liked football. Starty and Garvey was, I had to get on. I was like, lads, I've got in. They was like, yeah, like, it was a moment. It was a really lovely moment. And again, it's funny how in prison, life on the outside for you, it stops. And I really experienced this the first time I got let out for a visit. Where am I going? I think am I on this one? I think I'm on this one. I've committed, people. Yeah, I think I've done it right. When I die! Life stops. However, inside, you build a new life. You have to. Because it's like anything else. Like if you're doing, you wake up every day, you're experiencing every day again, aren't you? The same amount of seconds, minutes, hours in the day, and you learn to feel it like you would on the outside. But of course, there's always that overhang of knowing that, well, you just can't go outside. But that experience, that football tryout, that feeling, going back, looking forward to telling me mates, like having mates, knowing I'm going back to my cell. People was complaining about 3-man bang-ups. I was fucking loving it. I was like, every night, having a laugh with it's going to sound really disgusting, having a laugh with the lads, farting on each other, shitting in the same cell, like one of us having a bad stomach, and then enjoyingly letting everyone else know, and then having a dump in the night and having to hold your nose while someone's had a dump. Oh my God, the stuff you do. But yeah, so that was my first prison tryout. And I had another after that. After Wayland, I had another 2. I had one in Hollesley Bay and one in High Point, which I'll get onto. But yeah, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed that. This is me. Do you know what? I'm enjoying these, I must admit. Recounting these stories is reminding me of where I've come in my life. And I don't care how cheesy this sounds. If anyone's watching this and you're sort of doubting yourself, or you're feeling a little bit down in yourself, what I'd say is this, right? And this is a fact. You're a one-off. Like, there's never been another one of you before. There's never going to be another one of you again, and there's not another one of you walking around now. That's a fact. So you are a one-off. You're unique. You're special. And what makes you unique is your experiences, is your story. Whatever you've done to get to this point, I'd encourage you, don't feel ashamed of yourself. Don't doubt yourself. Don't be too tough on yourself. No one's perfect. We've all made mistakes. However, you get to go again all the time. Every time you open your eyes, every day, you get another opportunity to be you, something that no one else ever is going to get. And that's the truth. I'm not saying this to make you feel better. It's the truth. Enjoy being you, because that's an opportunity no one else ever has had, will have, or is having. So that's on you. Enjoy it. Choose to be happy. Thanks very much for listening. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Have a good day. These stories, sharing these experiences, isn't to glorify going to prison in any way. It's not to pretend that I'm tough, because I'm not. It's just to share an experience that has really helped shape me. And being completely honest, recounting these stories has actually been really helpful to me, because I've remembered so much about my journey into being me. Because in prison I really did find myself, because you have to, you're on your own. You've got people around you, but there is that feeling that you are on your own. Like all of a sudden you haven't got your loved ones just there, something that we often take for granted. So actually, just a quick shout out to all my family and friends, that especially the ones that stuck by me through the prison. Love to all of you. Another disclaimer, I am driving, however I will not be looking. Another toll bridge. Cheeky bastards, they've added another toll bridge. Stop it. God, I tell you what, money, 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 money. Yeah, I'm watching the road the whole time, and I'll just be talking so that the camera can hear me. However, I am concentrating solely on driving. I need to pause this now, as I've stopped, so I can pay the toll. Right, so back again. Covered all my disclaimers. Where did we leave off? A successful tryout for the Wayland football team. Now, Pentonville, which is obviously where I started off, and if you've seen the previous episodes, you'll know that there was still a lot more stories than what I told, to be honest. However, in Pentonville, I was only there for about 3 months, roughly. So it you know, and I did just under 3 years in prison, so it wasn't like the bulk of the stories. Wayland, I spent more time in Wayland than I did any other Nick. So Wayland, I've got lots of stories to share in this one. However, I need to sort of backtrack a little bit at this point. So last episode, like I said, successful football tryouts. You'll know that I've got two. Well, actually, I'm building up that football tryout. What it did do, all of a sudden, Mano. That's my nickname. I got a prison nickname, Mano. Everyone calls me Mano. Friends, prison friends. Mano all of a sudden is a little bit more. Well, do you remember I said prison? To sum up prison, my prison experience. Some said, what is it like? It's like an all-boys school. All boys are naughty, and the same sort of rules count as it does in school. Whereby, if you're good at sports, like, you're popular. Another thing in prison, if you're dealing drugs, you're popular. But if you're good at sports, and football especially, you're popular. So I got a little bit known, not for fucking being tough, for the guy who said, I think I'm a two-bob Spanish gangster. I don't think I'm a gangster at all, by the way. I didn't get known for, I got known for the right reasons. Because remember, again, I'll remind you, if you've seen the early episodes, when I got sentenced from Snaresbrook, there was this realisation in me as I was walking through Snaresbrook to get to that first holding cell to get transferred to Pentonville, where something inside me just genuinely went, just be yourself, Jay. Be who you are. And I did. I followed that, who I was. So I got known for being good at football, and also, do you remember I said I was working on a survey, being kind. Yeah, that's right. It's not a soft word to be kind. It actually served me pretty well. And what I mean by being kind, when I was on the survey, I wouldn't just give a bit extra to the tough guys and everything else. Like, I would try and help anyone I could, because I'm proud to say that's always been a bit of me. You know, if you can try and help someone, it's a nice feeling, right? So that experience expanded my network of friends in prison from different wings as well. Because obviously in the football team, you had prisoners from all the wings. It wasn't just, I was on C wing. But like I said, I'm going to go back now to Pentonville. Do you remember, if you've seen the episodes, on one of the episodes I said, right at the beginning, I can't remember if it was the first, I think it was the first night that I used to hear, I just remember hearing, before I fell asleep, some funny, you could hear people shouting at the windows. I remember one of the most common things I heard in prison. Beg you a burn? Someone shouted to someone to ask for a roll-up, right? And I remember there was banging at the windows. So what the banging is, because in prison, like I said, you create things to sort of not beat the system, but so that you always feel that you're doing something against them. Like, yeah, and one of the things was swinging lines after bang up. So everyone's banged up at that point. Obviously, you can't pass someone a cigarette or anything like that. You create a line, either with a shoelace or a bit of string, toilet paper people use as well, so that you can swing a line to another cell to pass on a cigarette or whatever. But like I said at the beginning, I didn't know what that was. Like, when I first went into prison, everything was new to me, so I didn't know that banging at the windows that you could hear was people swinging lines. And I tell you what, honestly, it was phenomenal how people could create a line, because remember, prison are multi-storied, like especially Pentonville, and you'd have people swinging lines 2 floors down to someone. It might go to someone else's cell and they'd be like, oh, do me a favour, pass that on to next door, blah blah blah. So that's what the banging was at the windows that you'd hear every now and again, would be this package, whether it be a sock with something weighted in it, that would bang against the window. So in Wayland, that was the first time I had a go at swinging a line. And I was with Stanty and Garvey, and again, it was just one of them experiences where I made a complete cock of myself. Because it's funny, isn't it? You do something the first time, like, I was nervous. I was like, oh, and they just fucking swing the line. I've swing the line out with a shoelace, a couple of them tied together, trying to swing it, and they just piss themselves laughing, trying to pass on a burn to someone else. But it was little things like that, like I said, that first time someone caught that line and, oh, nice one, man, I was like, yeah, I did that. Like, that was me. And it's all these little factors that, obviously, these are prison life factors that you won't be doing that outside. I won't be swinging from me upstairs down me downstairs to live, babe, swinging you down the Hoover or swinging you down the phone, whatever. So it was all these little things that made the experience unique, and you could take accountability and ownership of what you're doing. And it was with Stouty and Garvey in that first cell, because I was in 3-man bang up to start with, like I said, with Stouty and Garvey, and they'd been there for quite a few weeks, and they were saying, oh, we're going to get single cells soon, like, we're going to get single cells. And I was thinking, shit, we're going to get our own room. I'm going to have my own toilet. Can you imagine? I'll be able to knock one out without having to sneakily do it. It's the truth. True stories. And but it was in that time spent with them that, like, I just learned the ropes of what prison life really is, as in everyday life, like going out to work. I've got a job on the survey. I was getting paid, I think, £7 a week, which, like, was enough to sort of feel like, yeah, that means that I'm buying me tuna, I'm buying me super noodles. Because in prison, you live by your canteen. In regards to your diet, you live by your canteen. Because the prison food is shit. You take what you can, like the chicken, but then what you do, you get back to your cell and you've got these little kettles, right? These little prison kettles. And you put a little bit of oil in the kettle, and you'll keep the lid off the kettle. You put your chicken in, turn it on, so you sort of frying your chicken in the kettle, like so. And then you add your spices, and like what everyone does, or what most people, in my experience, they'd be hitting up the Jamaican lads, because they'd have all the best seasonings. And a lot of the times, it's really funny, in all the prisons I went to, predominantly in the actual kitchen where the foods were cooked would always be the Jamaican lads, because they cook the best. And so yeah, I learned how to cook my own chicken, and a massive, and people who've been to prison will know this, a massive element of your diet in prison is tuna and super noodles. Because in prison you can work out regularly. That's something, and in Wayland I really started getting into fitness, as in using weights. Because remember that experience I had with the pull-ups in Pentonville? If you've not heard that episode, that's worth a watch. The gym induction in Pentonville was one of the most embarrassing experiences of my life. It was horrible. So I'd in Wayland, now all of a sudden I've got access to a gym. I've got the football training, extra nights in football training. We'd sneak in a little bit early, and I would run to the pull-up bar. And people used to say to me, why is that all you're doing? Like, all you do? I couldn't give a fuck. I was like, that was cemented in me, that experience. And I'd said to myself, I'm going to get so good at these. And in Wayland, I just kept practicing. And because at that point then I'm playing for the football team, we trained at least 2 nights a week. We'd have a game on the weekend. I'd have my gym time as well. So, you know, I'm now getting in 400 metres. To the best shape of my life, to be honest. Like, I was getting really, really fit. I'd be running in the gym, then I'd go out and do training. Like, I was super fit, fittest I've ever been in my life. Was in prison. The thing is as well though, it felt, you felt an element of freedom whilst you were doing it. Because when you're running, when you're training, as you'll know, if you don't know, now you will know, you release something called endorphins. And it is an instant natural high in your body, a great feeling, and so it became addictive. So I had that going on, and then learning the ropes with Stouty and Garvey in regards to your everyday prison life, trade, of course, because trade is going on. Going back to the canteen. Canteen is how you buy and sell in prison, as well as obviously people that send money into people's account for drugs as well. But often, a lot of the time, people that are moving the drugs will want canteen, because that's, you know, as good currency, because if they're getting all their stuff bought from all their sauces, Heinz ketchup, like chili sauces, hot pepper sauces, this is the stuff like in prison that you absolutely, like, it's like gold dust, because of the fact it flavours food for you. And a lot of people in prison are working out, and I need to sneeze, I'm going to pause it, working out and eating. So it's a massive part of your life in there is getting a good diet to support your gym habits. I'm not saying that's for everyone, but for someone like myself and a lot of the people that I was sort of mixing with at that point, it was. And I remember the first time Starty and Garvey went to me, we're going to get some hooch, like, do you want in? And I was like, what's that? And he was like, it's alcohol. I was like, yeah? And he was like, yeah, but you've got to be really careful, because it can make you go blind. What? Are you winding me up? He said, no, you've got to be really careful with it, because it can make you go blind. Now, I don't know how true that was, or is, but I heard that after, even that for the first time, because that my first experience with prison hooch, fucking hilarious. But I heard it after that as well. Many people would say, oh, you've got to be careful with it, you know, you can go blind with it, blah, 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 blah. So anyway, where am I? I'll check where I am. I remember the first night, and I remember, like, obviously I said, yeah, I chipped in with whatever it was, canteen-wise, for the fella, and I remember Starty coming back and having like is it gallon, isn't it? 5 litre, little drum of this stuff, and like it was orange, bright fucking orange, because obviously oranges is what was part of the thing that was used to make it. Now, remember I said when I was in Pentonville, Barry, the old Rasta, he'd said he was making stuff. He had apples and sugar, and he did it in his sock at the window, like, and that was just atrocious. And anyway, so this time round, this is actual prison hooch, proper stuff. So that night when we got locked up, we got on the piss. Battered, absolutely, I mean, battered. We were singing, like, we was dancing, because obviously in Wayland as well, in Wayland you had electricity. So in Pentonville you didn't have electricity, like, so everything was battery powered. Remember my mum, bless her, we thought we was clever buying a wind up radio. But they'd taken that off me because they said there's parts in there that could make some sort of gun or something that could fire. Now, in Wayland, you get your boombox. Do you remember the old 1 or 2 deck tape with a CD box on a CD player on the top? Like, if you had a remote control, you was balling. We had and that was another way that people would often get phones sent in, because it was in Wayland was the first time I'd experienced people having phones. Like, you got phones? You got a mobile phone? How the fuck do you get a phone? Like, at Garvey, we didn't have phones at that point. But you know, we started, and especially where I was mixing with the football team lot, and some of the people on the football team were also people that were moving gear within the prison, and they had phones. I said, fuck it, so now all of a sudden I'm seeing phones, and they was getting sent in inside the stereos. And disclaimer, anyone thinking, oh, you're saying to people, telling people how he's got done, this got caught fucking years back. This is all stopped now, right? You can't do this shit anymore. Yeah, well, for a start, who has boomboxes these days anyway, right? So yeah, anyway, that night got the old R&B on, we were all singing to our love songs, Jodeci, R. Kelly, fucking hell, we didn't know he was a nonce back then, and all the rest of it. We're talking about birds and just, and again, it's so funny, I just remember that feeling of, in that moment, being pissed, thinking, this is alright, this ain't so bad, and then waking up, because they said to me the night before, it's a dirty hangover. I've never experienced this sort of, like, the reflux of that hooch the next day. Like, you wake up, you're like yellow. All of us, well, the 3 of us, woke up the next day for breakfast, just like looked fucking awful, absolutely awful. Like, oh, did I regret the night before? Did I tell myself I'm never doing hooch again? This sounds familiar. This sounds like real life on the outside. I'm never doing that again. Of course I did plenty of times. But again, it was a new experience. I got pissed in jail. I got pissed in prison. I can't believe it. And like I said, that we were fucking battered. That 5 litres. Like we had to go through it because you have to go through it because of course there's always a risk that someone gets too pissed, is too noisy, and then because you do have a night patrol that goes round obviously as well, so you've got to be careful with these things. And with the patrol you get to know what time they're going round, so it's funny how all of a sudden everyone's like, because it weren't just us obviously that was getting pissed. Once a batch of hooch is made up, it goes round the wing, like people are aware and everyone gets in on it. So it's funny how everyone's, someone will give you the shout, hey, Gov coming, whatever, screw! And then all of a sudden all the music goes off, everyone stops, and you're just in yourself like a big kid, laughing your head off, knowing what you're doing is naughty. And yeah, and then as soon as the screw would go, like once you'd wait for it, because obviously on C Wing in Wayland, there was it was multi-floored. Well, I say I think it was 3 floors, wasn't it? 1, 2. Was it 3 or was it even 2? C Wing. Hold on. No, it was 2 floors in Wayland. It was 2 floors. I'm sure it was 2 floors on C Wing. So once the screws have done their rounds and people are shouting up that they've gone back to the office, bosh, all the music comes back on, and then you giving it some again. And I can look at the camera for a little bit now. And yeah, it's a sense of freedom, and it's those little memories and those experiences that made it palatable. Again, I felt, yeah, fuck you system, like I'm in here for something I didn't do, but I'm getting pissed in here, you bastards. So there's little memories like that really make it, whilst you're in there, an experience that you can cherish, you can enjoy to an extent, especially sharing it with 2 other lads, getting pissed with them. Thank you for listening to this instalment. Where are we moving to next? Getting a single cell and where the football expanded to whilst in Wayland, because that turned into a really amazing experience with football in Wayland prison. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Have a fantastic day. Like I said in this installment, remember you are enough. I don't care what you think of that. I'm talking to your soul, to the bit of you that is unique, that just does want to feel happy in being yourself. You're enough. Remember that, and start living your life that way. And it's funny how things change. Have a great day. This series is not about glorifying prison, trying to make it attractive, or trying to act like I'm tough. Because as I said, going to prison, I found out that I'm not tough, and I'm alright with it. Disclaimer, I am driving, I'm looking at the road the whole time. I won't be looking at the camera other than looking at their sat-nav if needs be, but I don't think I need it actually now going home where I am going. Driving through the beautiful mountains out here in Spain. So, I know, as always, shout out to Louis and Sam, who are going from strength to strength. I think your most recent video as I'm making this is about to hit the 3,000 mark. It might have already done it. Well done, boys. It's fantastic what you're doing. I'm a massive fan, you know that anyway. So please like and subscribe to the channel. I'm proud to be a part of this channel with the lads. So, leaving off from last episode, I spoke about the football tryouts, getting into the football team, clattering one of the biggest geezers in the prison who was a centre back for the football team, and how that turned out. Thankfully I didn't get my head caved in. Also spoke about the first prison hooch experience, which actually forgot, and I remembered what I'd just done prior to doing this was watch the end of the last one to remind myself where I left off. And as I said, the next day from the prison hooch night, the piss up, on it, I'm not exaggerating, the hangover was disgusting. The way you felt was disgusting. And unfortunately, people did get too pissed because we all got spun the next day. And when what happens is, normally with cell spins, normally is they're just, you know, they're out of the blue. Obviously, you don't know you're going to get spun, and what that means is a group of officers come round and they just go through each cell, and they'll pick different cells and they'll spin your cell. And the next day we was one of the ones, and that's the first time I'd experienced a cell spin, and they literally come in wankers and they turn it upside down. They literally take everything out. They'll often unplug any plug sockets, because people hide stuff in the plug sockets inside their cells, things like phones or makeshift chargers or actual phone chargers if they've got them in. And yeah, it was the first time I experienced a cell spin. They come round, and yeah, I mean, it just completely tore. And obviously they was looking for hooch, but you know, as I said before, that's one of the reasons that you've got to finish your hooch and get rid of the evidence the next day, is so that, number one, you don't waste any of it, number two, you don't get caught with any of it. So we got through our cell spin feeling like, I mean, like I said, I don't think I've ever in my life had a hangover like that. It was the worst freaking feeling, but I'd say the night before was worth it. So yeah, that was another new experiencing a cell spin. And in this period, as I said, I was working the servery, and it's funny what you remember, like when people were, you know, acts of kindness. So Stouty, he worked in the wood shop, and like, he knew I supported West Ham. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to have to speak to my brother and get him to take a picture of what I'm about to talk about, and I'll have to post this up on one of the videos with this. So Stouty, bless him, he made me a little burn, because I got into the prison life, I started smoking burn. I didn't smoke cigarettes when I was on the out. I'd smoked cannabis, but and yeah, I called it cannabis, not weed, for lots of different reasons, because it's a wonderful plant. Different story, but my point is, I smoked cannabis, but I never smoked cigarettes on the out. But inside, started smoking burn. So Stouty made me a burn box that had my name on it, and he carved in the West Ham, like the castle and everything on the top. Brilliant. I'll have to find it. I'll have to get my brother to take a picture of it. And like I said, I'll put this up. I was so freaking grateful to him. Like, it meant the world. Like, he'd done this for me, this fella. You know, he didn't have to do that, and he, you know, he just done it as a goodwill gesture. And yeah, it was lovely. And I want to say at this point, actually, I'll tell you another thing I experienced in prison. That just like in real life, there are really lovely, kind, wonderful people banged up. There really are. Obviously, there's a lot of arseholes as well. Anyway, another toll. I'm on my way back now, so bear with me. There we go, out the other side. So yeah, as I was just saying, you know, I met, and the thing is, especially to fast forward a bit, but I'm not going to stick in the fast forward area. When I went to a decap, like, I met doctors, I met police, ex-police. Like, I tell you what, in prison, I found out was you'd hear it and you think that can't be that common, but how common it is. People on manslaughter charges whereby they can't even remember what had happened. And it was so common. Nightclub, going to a fight, often over a bird, and clump someone, they'd fallen over, banged their head, died. And just woke up the next day not knowing what they'd done, being told what they'd done by the pit, and then having to live with that guilt on their conscience. Things like it is. Prison's a funny world. It really is. It's a unique place. It's a very unique place. But yeah, when Stouty made me that burn box, like, it was just like, oh my God, I cherish that box, and I give it to my lovely younger brother Dan, who I love to bits, as a gift for him. But yeah, so in that period, as I said, in Wayland, because I spent most of my time in Wayland, and like things like that was still in the first few months. Getting into the football team was in the first few months, and I also, like I said, I started getting to know some of the other lads that was in the land on C wing. Obviously, you spend most of your time on the wing that you're on, because you get let out into the yard, obviously, for your social time and whatnot. But inside the wing, like of an evening, for example, you get let out of an evening, like you get your food and you're allowed out in the evening. You're allowed out a lot more in your wing, obviously, in the evenings, in comparison to Pentonville, because obviously all the trouble in Pentonville. And there was like in Wayland, there was the table tennis table. And do you remember I told you about that little fella Frank from Pentonville, who had been, again, extended the first bit of kindness to me, gave me some fresh toast when I went down with Barry for breakfast. He was one of the people that got moved to Wayland, and he was on my wing in Seaving. And I remember the table tennis games in Wayland. Honest, and I was decent. I was good enough to, like, I could never beat Frankie. I don't think I saw anyone beat Frankie. But even that, on like getting out of an evening, looking forward to going to watch table tennis and just seeing, like, just amazing. Like, again, like I said, you make that world your own. There's things in there that, just like on the out, you'd look forward to doing. You'd look forward to doing whilst you're in prison, and also in Wayland, you was allowed, because you had TVs in your cell, you was allowed to have, not everyone, I can't remember how this worked actually, but you was allowed to have a console. Was it PlayStation? It must have been. So we're talking 2002 people, mid to end of 2002, whatever PlayStation was out then. I got to know 3 lads, all from Brixton, and they was on. I was in C Wing. I was on the top floor. And as I said, C Wing was definitely 2 floors. They was on the bottom floor, not far from the survey. And I remember I used to start, mixing with them lads as well as Stouty, and that Stouty and Garvey didn't really. It's quite funny actually. Something else that's just hit me. I love Stouty and Garvey to bits, and I didn't care that they were smackheads. As I said, they were functioning smackheads, but in prison, if you are seen to be a smackhead, you are bottom tier. Like, you're a smackhead. Basically, that's the label. No matter what, that's the label you get given. And these lads that I was mixing it with, and the only one that I remember, and his name was Sid the Cycle, and there was another 2 lads that always used to go into this one cell and they'd make beats. It was when you could make beats on PlayStation. On one of the games you could make beats. And growing up, my best mate was well known in the grime scene, right at the beginning of the grime scene especially. He as an MC and as a producer. In fact, he produced Dizzy Rascal tunes, he produced Skepta tunes, he produced Kano, he produced loads of different tunes. So I'd seen him from a young age. Like I said, this was my mate growing up. When you hang around with your best mate, you observe, didn't you, what they're doing. And his dad, God rest his soul, he was a big Rastafarian sound man in East London that my mate inherited all of his music and his equipment. So I used to see my mate, like, I'm talking massive sound mixing decks. I used to be round there, we used to be smoking cannabis, and he'd be there for hours making grime beats that then again, do you know what, I'm really lucky actually. Some of the things I've experienced, like my mate would then, I'd see him build a tune, I'd see him go in the studio with him and his partner. There was 2 of them. It's the Newham Generals, by the way, Footsie and DWE. Footsie was, he was best man at my wedding, my son's godfather. Me and him absolutely love him to bits. I'd see him doing that in Forest Gate, and then I'd be in Glastonbury with him, backstage videoing him while he's performing to thousands of people. It's just amazing experience. So I'd had experience in how to build tunes. But I'd never done it with Foots. I'd always been there, and he'd be saying, "What's that sound?" I said, "Yeah, that sounds brilliant, that bit." But then in prison, I got at this stage I'm quite confident. I said, "Let me have a go." So I started building some music as well, which I fell in love with. Building, it was a really simple platform to use, and building a song, a beat, and then playing it back, and then the other lads go, "Oh, that's massive, that's fucking brilliant." Again, great feeling. I remember being in their cell one day, and opposite Sid's cell, like I said at the beginning of this series, in prison there's a lot of people that shouldn't be in prison. They should be in mental health care units. And opposite Sid's cell, there was a light-skinned, really light-skinned fella, almost albino in his complexion. No, when they get really, really, really light. And it's just funny that, not that that matters, but it's just one of the features I remember about this guy. And this guy clearly had mental health issues, and this guy was a lump, and Sid was a lump, like, as well. So they was both lumps. And this guy's the mixed race fella's cell was opposite Sid's cell. And let me come off here, actually, sorry people, 2 seconds. And I remember that I found after going down there a few times that there was always a bit of friction, like Sid's, the geezer on the other side, he took on the prison persona, the geezer with the mental health issues, as when I say took on the prison persona, that old school sort of, right, I'm the daddy, because each wing has different landings, and on this landing the two biggest lumps were Sid and this fella. And up until that point, I hadn't seen a fight in Wayland. Like I said, there's so much, because the thing is, in a CCAT, you don't want to get kicked out of a CCAT, because where you're going next, if you behave yourself, is a DCAT. And in a DCAT, that's where you get let out. That's where you can actually go out in some of them and work in the community and then come back. You've got keys to your own cell. So being in a CCAT is prime in regards to, right, this is where I put the work in to tick all the boxes, cross all the T's and dot the I's, because I'm on my way to getting a shag. In layman's, that's what you're on your way to doing. You're on your way to getting a shag, right? So anyway, I'm in his cell one of these days, we're playing, and it was also, if we weren't building tunes, we was playing ISS Pro Evolution Soccer. And for those that know that's a freaking amazing game. I was never really into FIFA. This is when ISS was the main game, and FIFA was shit. And we were playing away, and then more often than not, when fights did kick off in Wayland, it was after gym, because you go down the gym, and bear in mind, in Wayland was where I really see how much drugs, which I'm going to get onto actually probably in the next episode, about the drugs and how they get into prison. In Wayland, there was everything, and I mean everything: steroids, pharmaceutical, crack, cocaine, smack, cannabis, pills, everything. And it was easy to get hold of. So you'd get a lot of big lumps juiced up going down the gym, coming out the gym obviously feeling like Superman and pumped up. That's when they're ready to have a row. And this particular day, I remember sitting there so I'm sitting at the back of a cell. So imagine sitting in a room that's about 10 foot in length by about 5 foot in width, and I'm sitting at the back where the window is of the cell, sitting on a chair, and I'm looking, in front of me is the doorway, and opposite this cell, was it Sid's cell? What's that? That was Sid's cell. Yeah, it was Sid's cell that we used to play the PlayStation. Yeah, because it was, of course, it was Sid's PlayStation. And Sid was, he was known in his area in Brixton for doing what he'd done. And so we're sitting in that cell, and he's come in, and the other geezer's gone into his cell, and the other geezer, he did, in fairness to Sid, he did provoke it. Like he would often like look at Sid, and Sid would look at him back, but he would never want to get into it, because he wanted his DCAT as well. Like, he didn't want it to kick off. But there was this one day, like, we're sitting there, and he's come back from gym. This is how, like, sort of close I got with these lot. Like, me and one of the other fellas was sitting in his cell playing on the PlayStation, and Sid and the other fella, like I said, there was 3 of them that I used to have it with. Sid and the other fella came back from gym, they've come in the cell, and just as he's coming in the cell, the other geezer's coming in the cell, they've looked at each other, and Sid said, you know what, I've had enough of this. Like, and he's turned back around, and just, because the geezer's just staring at him, and the geezer's gone, what? Like, and that was it. Like, Sid has walked over to his cell, and then they've just gone at it. And I just remember sitting there, sort of transfixed. It's really strange, like a strange feeling, because it wasn't noisy, as in shouting, screaming, but it was like, you know, two massive lumps trying to trying to connect punches with each other, like in this confined space, because now Sid's in his cell. And it is, I mean, two fucking units literally going at it. And it probably only went on for maybe 2 or 3 minutes, so like a round of boxing, but, you know, throwing each other about, trying to do anything they could to really have it with the other one, do some damage. No weapons, just two blokes like on their twos having it. And like I said, I just remember being transfixed watching it and not knowing what to do. Like, it's just a really weird feeling, not knowing what to do, just other than sit and just watch. And being completely honest, wanted it to stop. Like, it wasn't a nice feeling, if I'm being completely honest. But like, they had the tussle, and then there was the signal for bang up, and they just stopped. And the other geezer, Sid got the better of him. Sid definitely got the better of him. The other geezer's face was marked up. The other geezer didn't really connect with Sid. But that was it. He came back into his cell. Sid's t-shirt was ripped. And I remember just sitting there and, like, obviously not knowing what to say, not knowing what to do. And then obviously it's bang up, just leaving. And like I said, that was the first, you know, in close proximity fight I'd seen in prison. Like in Pentonville, I'd seen things kick off down the wings and stuff, but being there in that, like I said, in that close proximity, and it was just a really strange feeling. And I'll be honest, I remember thinking, oh, fuck that, I don't ever want that to happen. Like, you know, that knowing then that you're literally in between your two cells, there's probably a 5-foot landing corridor that separates you. So every single morning you're opening the governor's opening the door, you're seeing each other. Every single morning you're going to breakfast, every lunchtime, like, absolutely mental experience. And I remember I went back up to, because of course it still spreads. Like, another thing, people are walking past, stopping, looking, and then just moving on. So it went round the wing. What had happened, I went back up to my cell with Statty and Garvey, and they'd heard what happened. I said, yeah, like, I saw it. They was like, oh, what happened? I remember saying to them, do you know what? I said, it's fucking horrible. Like, I just didn't want to know what I did. I was just transfixed, just sitting there watching this just violence kick off in front of me, not knowing what to do. And again, just a memory that stayed with me. I'll never forget. I vividly remember just how they was tussling, how they was fighting, and how I felt. And it just fucking. And it was me and the two other lads that were they was there. They was more accustomed to it than me. No one joined in. They just left them to it, and then that was it. And I remember that after whatever the next meal was, which I think was dinner that day. And remember, I'm on the servery. I remember thinking, again, how my mind and my ego worked was, oh, the light-skinned fella's going to be coming around to get food. Obviously, he's going to be coming around to get food, Jay. But my mind's going, oh, I wonder if he's going to say anything to me, or, you know, I wonder, you know, like, I know what happened. But yeah, he came round, he got his food. I served him his food, just nodded at him. That was it. And I just thought, well, this is it, isn't it? This is part of where you are, Jay. This is part of what it is here. And yeah, that was the first proper time I experienced a straightener in prison, which started, finished, and that was the end of it. And as far as I knew, for the rest of the time that I was on C-Wing with them lads, nothing ever happened again. Thank you for listening. I appreciate I'm in the darkness. Probably better off for you can just see the West Ham badge. And again, please like and subscribe to the channel. Have a fantastic day. Where I'm going to go next, definitely going to start talking about how I learned drugs got into the prison, and what a military style operation it was, and just how funny some of the incidents are in what leads up to how it's all set up for drugs to come into the kitchen, into the prison. Have a good day.
I'm not sharing these prison stories, don't know what that was, to glorify going to prison, and as I always say, it's definitely not to pretend that I'm some sort of tough nut, because I never was, and going to prison solidified that. So where did we leave off? We left off with kindness and violence. So if you haven't seen the last episode, basically one of my lovely cellmates, Starty, had made me a little West Ham burn box that I could put my burn in his woodwork shop, which was it was brilliant. Like, they had the West Ham badge and castle, and put my name on the side. Brilliant. Shout out to you, Starty, if you ever get to see this. And I also spoke about the first time that, not that I'd seen a fight in prison, because I'd seen in Pentonville there was things kicking off all the time, but it was the first time I was around what I'd label a silent fight. Like I said in the last video, these two lumps went at it. Like, one of them was me mate that I was having it with. I was in his cell playing computer. He'd just come back from the gym, because I was in Wayland at this point. You was allowed to have a PlayStation. It was the old, really, I don't know if it was the first one, whatever. 2002 this would have been. So whatever PlayStation it was in that period, that's the one I was playing. And Sid was a lump, absolute lump, and the other fella was a lump. They was both very equally sized, and there'd been, as I said in the last one, there'd been tension between them for a long time, and it just kicked off this day. But it was, like I said, it was a brutal fight in silence. No one was like, "Hey, you can't off." It was literally two people who was conserving their energy. Both just got back from the gym as well. The pair of them, so they was pumped up from all the endorphins and the adrenaline from the gym session. And and it was, as I said in the last video, I just sat there, just like in a trance, not knowing what to do, not knowing how to react, being completely honest, feeling a bit sick to my stomach. Like, you know, in layman's, I just wish they weren't fighting. Like, I don't care how soft that sounds. I realise now, especially I'm comfortable in my skin now, as Jay, the soul coach, as a lot of you take the piss out of, you know who you are. Excuse me, choking. That I'm quite, proud to say that, I don't like seeing people hurt each other. And it was, I realised that there's been an innocence in me in that regards for a long time. Considering I went away for violence as well, sounds really hypocritical, right? But it just shows you anyone could do stupid things, given the moment, given the opportunity, and given the choice. So that's where we left off, a brutal fight. Now, where I want to move on to, first of almost, it's hot. I'm going to open the window, otherwise I'll be sweating my nuts off, won't look good. Got the old menopause. So, moving on to getting my own Peter Sellers cell. These are the things, again, I remember the first time everyone kept referring to, this was when I was in Pentonville, people were talking about going back to your Peter, and I'd always think like, what the fuck's that? Why do they keep, who's this Peter? Why is everyone going back to Peter? And then again, for another silly comment from me in front of people where they went, you mug, Peter Sellers cell. I was like, so of course then I adopted that phrase, me Peter. So at that point I was sharing with Peter with Starty and Garvey. However, we got the knock on the door one day. Lads, you're going on to the other part of C Wing, because we was on C Wing in Wayland. The first bit is like the induction wing, sort of. It's where anyone first coming into Wayland goes on C Wing, goes into a cell with more than one person in the cell. So that's the situation I was in at that point. But then you do get your own Peter, and it's really funny because it's something I hadn't thought about, because I was genuinely loving life with Stouty and Garvey. Like I said in one of the previous ones, it was the first time I had a piss up in prison was with Stouty and Garvey on Prison Hooch. Absolutely brilliant, like hilarious, like funny as fuck. And then in the morning, a hangover that I've never experienced, because of course this stuff is full of shit, like absolutely full of shit. So I was really happy in my cell with my mates, even though we were shitting and farting each other in front of each other all the time and smelling each other's shits all the time. And when they, bless them, both of them, they were gearheads, right? They were smackheads. And it's actually, I'm going to touch on that. It's really funny because in prison you got a hierarchy, and smackheads are at the bottom. Now them two lads were proper sound lads. They weren't thieving off people or anything like that. But they did do smack. Just in case, smack is heroin, by the way. 2 secs. Sorry people, I don't know where that yawn came from. Yeah, Smack's heroin, by the way, and both of them done Smack. So what I learned quickly, because I didn't do Smack, because I was good at football, at this point I'm now playing for the football team. People know, like I said before, prison is just like school, where it's an all-boys school where everyone's naughty, and just like in school, the kids that are athletic, the boys that are strongest, the boys that are best at football, you naturally get a higher status in. I'm not saying it's right, it's just the way it works. So I've established myself now. I'm good at football. People are getting to know me. I'm on the servery. I'm working on the and I'm being kind to people. That was another thing. And there's a point to that as well, because I realised, if you remember right back at the beginning, I had a big insightful moment. The day I got sentenced in Snaresbrook Crown Court, I had this little inner voice. I don't care how that fucking sounds to you. This is what happened. Get over your ego. It said to me, be yourself. And I'm now really being myself in Wayland. I've been, you know, I've acclimatized. I've been slightly institutionalized to what prison is, how it works. Because at first everything is based on fear. Like I said, when I first went into Pentonville, part of what I do now, going off topic a little bit, I'm a coach, okay? I've done coaching for a long time. I help people with many different issues and problems. One of the biggest problems for most people, myself included, even to this day I still battle with it, is actually being present, being in the moment, not worrying about stuff that's already happened or worrying about stuff that's not happened yet, which is both fiction, because you can't do anything about either. It's all happening now, right? Well, when I went to prison, Pentonville, I was more present in the moment than I'd ever been in my life, which was driven by fear, because it was an horrible place. Getting to Wayland now, I'm now starting to be, you know, it's a C category prison. On my wing, it's there's no like murderers, no rapists, anything like that. It's everyone's, you know, there's people involved with drugs, people involved with fights, and there's a different group of people, but it's a complete different energy from Pentonville. So yeah, like I said, I'm working on the survey now. I'm being kind. I'm always trying to top people up. If I can't top someone up, it wasn't that I was scared at that point of people. I enjoyed trying. I wasn't doing it for favours either. I was doing it because it felt like hey, that's a bit of you, Jay. You do that. I'd see people that I could see were struggling, but here, mate, have a bit more of that. Like, you know what I mean? Don't want you have. I hope you have a good day. But so yeah, I've got a reputation for being just a nice geezer and trustworthy, which actually, going a couple of steps ahead when it comes to the drugs element of my prison experience, not me taking drugs as in being involved in dealing, being involved in getting them into the prison, it was because I was trustworthy that got me a position in that later on, which we'll come to. But anyway, so back to what I was saying about the drugs and the hierarchy. So when I was outside on Soch or whatever like that, or like I'd be having it with other people that wouldn't necessarily want to be around Stouty and Garvey because they see them as smackheads. And I remember that realisation, and I remember like having a conversation with both of them about it, like, because I felt a bit guilty, and they went, no, look, Jay, this is how it is in prison, like it don't change our relationship, like, because I said to them, I said, I don't fucking care, boys, like, you've been nothing but good to me. Because what happened was, there was an incident on the yard where I was with the football lot, and again, innocently, I don't know about this hierarchy, this divide at that point, and I've seen Stouty and Garv, I've gone, hey boys, come over, and they've looked and they've sort of gone, no, and the boys that I'm with made a few comments to me, oh, what are you talking to them for, fucking smackheads? And I remember feeling really hurt for them. I was like, they're good lads, like, what do you mean? Like, and they was like, no, bruv, like, because a lot of the boys on the football team, they was also, well, a good few of them were the dealers as well. They were the people who said, look, we don't have it with them lot, blah, blah, blah. So when it came to that point of, right, boys, you're getting your own Peter, you're getting your own cell, I was a little bit like, oh, and the boys was, I said to the screw, like, are we being split up? He went, no, actually, you're going on another part of C Wing, but on the same landing. I was like, yes, right? So we're packing up all our stuff, and then it starts dawning on me, I'm getting my own room. I'm getting my own shitter. I can have a wank in peace. Come on. And so I'm getting quite excited. I've got my own like stereo. Obviously at that point I got my stereo. You got your TV in your cell as well. So I remember that night we're going around and then we're unpacking. We're unpacking into our new cells. Obviously, someone's been in there before, and I remember saying to one of the boys, like, it looks like someone's painted the walls or part of the walls. And the boys were like, yeah, you could decorate your own like cell. I was like, I can paint my own room. God's honest truth. And I was like, well, and again, this is what I mean. When you get into prison, when you start realising, right, I'm here, I can't leave, this is my world, I need to make it my world as much as possible, and that includes your cell. So I remember thinking, right, brilliant, once I've settled in, I'm going to do my cell. And anyway, that night we met on that landing. There was another lad, lovely lad, I forgot his name actually, from Brixton, big black lad, well built. I think he had 1 or 2 gold teeth. Like he just looked like your stereotypical drug dealer. Like, and he used to say it himself, and he was in for drugs. Like, it was that stereotypical drug dealer. So I'm not being fucking racist either, by the way. The ones that they paint him up to be, you know, they say, oh yeah, be a black lad, he's got gold teeth. He was this, and he was in for it. It was always an ongoing joke, but he was a lovely fucking git, and he, honestly, his laugh was infectious. He used to bellow this laugh. But he was a fucking wind-up merchant. Now, so remember, I'm green to prison. This is my first time in prison. Yeah, this is my first time getting my own cell. This is the lads noticed it was a much bigger moment for me than it was any of the others. They was like, fucking hell, man, get a grip, son, it's just your own cell, you can't, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, that night, so what happens is, we unpacked our stuff, and then it's evening soch. So you're allowed out, I can't remember till what time. I want to say about 8 o'clock, like after dinner. So you have your dinner around 5. So I do the work on the servery, I help clean up with the lads, then bosh, I'm out me servery clothes, upstairs into my new cell, straight out of the cell into the social area or into someone else's cell. All the boys are together, someone's got a computer or whatever else. And so anyway, I'm having a great time, and the fuckers. So I was with Garvey, Starty, and we'll call him Dealer. And they're all like, you looking forward to going back? I bet you're looking forward to going back to your own cell tonight. I'm going, yeah, fucking brilliant, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, what I don't know, there's this thing, and they called it cell dumping, right? I'll explain what it was. So you always push staying out on soch to the last minute. Literally, people at the last minute, oh shit, hold on, Gov, let me just go and get a Rizzler for someone. Someone's running and getting something else from someone else, a bit of milk from someone else. Like, you always push it to the last minute so that when the screw comes around, you just bang your door shut and that's it for the evening, right? So it's just a thing. So I'm part of this now. I know this. That's how we do it. I'm running around. Everyone's doing it. I'm probably running around just for the sake of running around like a fucking idiot. And then I just remember, I got back into my cell, I slammed the door, and as soon as I slammed the door, I was like, ugh, what's that fucking smell? Like, what the fuck is that smell? And then all I heard, oi mano! I was like, yeah, who's that? Come to the window. So I've come to the window, and Stouty, Garvey, and Dealer, they're all going, oi bruv, how's your cell smell, bruv? How's your cell smell? I'm saying, oh, you cunts, what you done? They're going, look in your toilet. I looked in my toilet. They've piled up fucking tissue, right? And then fucking Dealer, and I never forget it. I'd never heard this term before, cutting a bruise. He's gone, I cut the mother of all bruises in your cell. Because I remember thinking, that's a great scent there. And I looked in my toilet, and it had the biggest fucking black fuck off dollop of shit you've ever seen in your life in the top of my cell. And of course, the prison flushes ain't great, so the reason they put the tissue there is, number one, it fucking makes the smell stink because it's not sunk under the water, but it also takes loads of flushes and you gotta fucking break it up to get this shit down. And I'm there like, it was fucking rank, absolutely fucking rank. But do you know what? I felt part of the gang. I felt, right, fuck it. He's shitting myself. I've been accepted. And for the record, I got that cunt back as well. So, yeah. there's my little story about me getting my own Peter Sellers, my own Peter, my own cell, and how much it meant to me. And I'll continue on the next endorsement of this Banged Up a Hammer show on me doing up my cell. And the world's strongest man, Arthur White. How random does that sound? But he's involved in the next one. For anyone that's watching and got this far, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe and like the channel. Subscribe to the channel and like the video if you do like the video. I'd also like to send you all good health and happiness. And we've got a support platform, okay? So, and trust me, there was a period of my life where mentally I was in a dark, horrible place, and thank God the universe sent an angel to save my life, really, because I was mentally in a bad way. Over the last 10 years, I've repaid the universe and that lovely gentleman by becoming a coach myself and working with many people, men, been through abuse, something I went through, groomed and sexually abused as a kid, mental health issues, an area that I've been working in for many years. So if you are feeling a little bit lost, if you're feeling like you need a little bit of support, then please leave a comment and say, look, Jay, I'm interested in hearing a little bit more about your support platform, because it is a fantastic platform. There's nothing soft about it. There's nothing soft about reaching out for a bit of help when you need it. In fact, that shows true strength. So have a good day, people, and don't suffer in silence. There's good people around you that are willing to listen. Have a good one.